Hey, what's up, guys? You about to go to sleep? Well, wake up, babe dad. Wake up, I want to talk to you. What's up, chorus skating and Pack and Kite and Platt and Leda and Thunderlock? Oh, no, Mr. Junkies, we're all done with the music. My voice is the only music that we need now. Plastic straw, it's... You didn't see anything. No plastic here. Hello, Miss Black. And Gynor, if you're still here, you're my people. I love to argue. We're gonna talk about arguments. Why we have them, why they make us so mad, and why they're the best. Why we should have them anyway. Vape Dad doesn't care about vaping. You know, I was thinking earlier about why I love Twitter humor. And I think a big part of it is there isn't really time to like set up the joke. There's no lead in. You just get the punchline. And the like stupid shit that makes me laugh on Twitter is always like, it's not even a full sentence a lot of the time. Someone will just tweet a phrase and I'm like, yeah, Vape Dad is like one of those. You don't have to do anything to make it funny. It just is funny. Anyway, Leda, thanks for the bits, babe. You are so kind. So I've been thinking about making a new channel lately. Not a Twitch channel, a YouTube channel for more, for just higher quality videos and stuff. Been pretty inspired by like Vsauce. He does a lot of like physics videos and stuff like that. Just explaining concepts in a way that's interesting. And I want to do that, but with a theme that's more philosophical. I've been really concerned with, I've been working on some scripts and I want them to be pretty clear. I want them to be solid. And I'm kind of self-conscious about like questions of authority. Like what gives me the right to say the things that I say, and are they true? Hey, Vsauce Michael, I love him. He's such a dork. I love it. Yeah. So I have been wanting people, I've been reaching out a little bit on like Facebook and Discord, saying, hey, like, does anybody want to talk about this? Blank subject. And then tell them what I think. I think the last one I did, I was just talking about morality and where I think it comes from. And after I like posted my thing, I said, please challenge and disagree with me. And I think that freaks people out. In Discord, they were like, I don't want to argue with you. That's not fun. Like that's mean. And I think when people hear that, they don't think like what I mean is help me make sure this is good. You know, help me adjust this if it needs adjusting. But what people hear is like, come at me, fuckers. Come get some. Yeah. And that's a thing about arguments. You think I'm wrong? Just fucking try me. Try to disagree with this shit. But yeah, there's different senses of the word argument. We usually think of argument in the sense of like heated accusations, back and forth, kind of attack-like. If you're here to talk about arguing, does that mean you will need us to argue against you about arguing? I mean, you're allowed to. You're cooler than me. Let's argue. I can't argue with that. I'm pretty cool. But the arguments that are good are the ones in the sense of, you know, argument as a process of reasoning, of clarifying ideas, rather than fighting about ideas. But she has Coke, that's a scam? It's a LaCroix. You came to a coffee stream. Why do you look so disappointed? These are good. Oh, it's not coffee. I get it. I want to change the name. I don't think Coffee with Fieldy is that good of a talk show name. And most of the time, it's not even morning and I'm not even drinking coffee. What I'm thinking about is usually when I go into Discord, or if I'm talking to like my personal friends on Facebook, I'm kind of used to people finding me a little annoying because I can talk too much. And I have my great privilege in this life is that I have more free time than most people. Hello, Linz. So usually if I want someone to engage me on Facebook or something, before I just go into it, I'll say, hey, does anyone want to talk about this? I'm gonna wait to see if anybody is into it before I just throw out all the stuff I want to say into the world. And then I kind of do that in Discord too. Kind of slow in Discord. I'm like, y'all want to talk about this thing? Yo, Big Sam, yo, Thought Queen. So it's a little dorky, but I was thinking of calling it, does anyone want to talk? And then when I make a video, I can be like, hey, what's up? Does anyone want to talk about arguing? And they get into it. Why does your room look so empty? It is, well, it's not that empty. Just a lot of the stuff is off camera, but it is, yeah. I need to get like a little tree or something. It was a little sad in here. I like my space to be pretty minimal, but yeah, not too sanitized. Wall-sized mural of a cat. Like getting drunk in Discord and talking about interesting shit. Yeah, I like to talk. I like it a lot. And I don't think that I'm smarter than other people. I do think that I spend a lot of time thinking about things, and I do think I'm better at most people at saying what I think and why I think it, and explaining why I accept or reject certain ideas. And people who know that they disagree with me, but either don't have the time to explain why or don't really know how to explain why, are like, shut up. Shut up. I can be a little annoying. So I love to argue, but a lot of people don't like to argue with me. So yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot. Why is it so upsetting when people disagree with us? We're not very good at kind of separating attacks on us, like an attack on the person versus an attack on an idea. You feel very little about things. I feel everything about everything, and I like it. Yeah, people don't know how to argue, Tybucks. And I think doing more arguing, even just with myself, I spend a lot of time just sitting very still and just thinking things through. I find that very like fun and exciting. And I think a big part of the reason why my issues with depression have subsided a lot is because I've been getting back into it, and it's something that is fun for me. And I went a long time without really talking about any of these topics or thinking or writing about them because most people don't. I haven't really known very many people who will want to engage in these kind of talks. I'm glad I have you guys, that you guys want to listen. It is really, really exciting to me. Ignoring the nerds. No. Will there be a commercial break? Nope. But yeah, why do we believe the things that we believe, and why is it so upsetting when other people don't believe them? Okay, Vape Dad, you have a lovely night. Check out the VOD later if you care. It'll be around. Or just wait. One day I'm going to make a new YouTube channel and then do these talks in a format that takes out all of the excess. Why does a locked door not open? Because it's locked. So most of what people believe is based on what we believe other people believe, or on what people have told us to be true. And I think of like little kids figuring out the world, kind of like the world is like slowly loading around them. It's kind of buffering as they figure out like what's pretend and what's real, and what's okay to do, what's not okay to do. How should I act? They're always asking, want to ask all the adults around them what things are and why they're that way and how they are. And it's really, we kind of build up our conception of the way things are little by little. And just as a matter of survival, structure and understanding of the way things are is really important. We need to know what the rules are. Just the world in general and socially. But why? Yeah. And I think part of getting back in touch with your inner child is going back to asking why and how again. It is really important to have have certain beliefs. You can't function if you don't have solid ideas about how things are and the way they should be. Well, less important is how they should be. You need to know how they actually are so that you can function and survive and adapt. So once you do have all of that, once you have your framework, it is threatening when someone questions that. It means you might have to change the way that you're living or thinking. It's uncomfortable. That's interesting, Big Sam. That's why debate clubs in schools are really shitty. I think about that a lot. When I think about arguments, I always think about debates, where that is a place where you're making an argument for the sake of being right and not for the sake of understanding, which is pretty much the only time you should not engage in an argument, is when the other person is incredibly rigid and they're not interested in meeting you or trying to clarify things with you. Yeah, that's rough, Linzex. And like I said, so much of what we believe is based on what other people believe, or what other people tell us. We have to rely on other people to know a lot of things. I think this is why I think like one of the most truly evil things to do is like to lie and scam people, because you are really fucking someone up when you lie to them. You are changing their conception of reality and making them live in a world that's not real. It's terrible. I get really upset by, people who present arguments or just outright lies in bad faith. There's nothing wrong with defaulting to experts. Right. You're right. Yeah, and we don't have time. I mean, I have lots of time. That's what I'm saying. I have lots of time, but in general, and really just as a rule, because there's so many beliefs that we have. We can't consider all of them. You have to go to work. You have to feed yourself. You have to do all these things. You don't have time to question every single thing that you believe. You have to take people's word for it on a lot of things. And yeah, that's why it is important to have experts on things and to be able to trust them. We should be able to trust them. So it really fucks with people and fucks with just the public in general when you have experts or people in power who aren't genuine and make you question whether you can take what they say at face value. Makes everyone feel crazy. We don't have time to question every single thing. But if you do find yourself with a belief that's important to you, or just a curiosity, and you find someone who disagrees, wants to argue, that's a good thing. If you know, if you both genuinely are interested in what's right and true. And yeah, you should ask yourself, if you are feeling upset about someone disagreeing with you, do I care about what is right, or do I care about being right? And probably ask the same thing about them. What you believe about other people's intentions will change everything about how you approach an argument. And there are some instances where you shouldn't invite disagreement. There's a lot of people who argue in bad faith, who are disingenuous. If you're trying to have an argument with someone who keeps changing the subject, deflects attempts to clarify things, it's not someone probably who actually wants to have a discussion with you. It's someone who has a belief and wants to wiggle out of any attempt to analyze it. You see that a lot. I think Twitter's where I do most of my argument. That's where I have unpleasant arguments where like people get mad. And something that you see a lot is if you're so right, why won't you debate me? And that comes sometimes from people who don't really have any interest in what you have to say, or they don't have any interest in trying to see how and why you disagree. You know, they want to berate you, and those conversations aren't really worth having. Or if you're emotional, if it's something you're very emotionally invested in to the point where you're not going to get anything out of talking about it, if it's just going to, you know, if it's going to be unhealthy, if it's a matter of, you know, someone questioning your worth as a person, you don't owe anyone those types of conversations. And, you know, you don't have to defend yourself against any person who's going to be a dick to you. How do you deal with the gut reaction? Yeah, because most things that you would argue about are more than just hypothetical. You're thinking about them for a reason. That's probably pretty important to you. And this goes back to what I've been talking and thinking about lately in regards to emotion, and respecting the emotions that you have. You can't be wrong about what you feel. Feelings can't be wrong. You can take the wrong action based on how you feel. So trying to remember if there was something I was going to say about this or if I'm winging it. Sorry. Okay, sorry. I have like a few things written down, but I don't think I wrote anything about that. Take us under your wing. But yeah, it comes down to to the difference between feeling and acting on an emotion. If I say something and someone disagrees with me, my gut reaction is like, excuse me. But you're a reasonable person, so you can take a second to stop before you get pissed off outwardly, and just recognize that this is something you care a lot about. Getting mad about it's a good thing. It means you care. Comes from a good place. Comes from a place of love and interest. And then you need to remember that disagreement, a real disagreement, a real decent argument against whatever you've said can only help you. It's either going to strengthen your views, because if you have good views, then you should be able to look at an argument against them and say why it doesn't apply, or why it's actually not a good argument. Or if you consider it and find that it is a decent argument, then you will adjust your views to make them better and more accurate. So you have to just take a moment to separate what you believe from who you are, and know that you're always going to be learning new things and adjusting your views. You should never stop doing that. You shouldn't want to. We all know that, I think most of us know that we're kind of dopes in the big scheme of things. No one thinks they know everything, but we really act like it when it comes to people disagreeing with us. Yeah, so you're either going to come out with a better view or a stronger understanding of the view you already had. So what you should do, if someone disagrees with you and you want to argue with them, so many things get polarized. Yeah. I think a lot of that, like I said, the negative the arguments that I have that are negative experiences are usually online. Yeah, there's a screaming man in the background. Don't worry, it's fine. This was in my going live tweet too, like how interesting it is when people fight with each other who like aren't really that different. Their views aren't that different. And I get this a lot where I'll tweet something and then get some aggressive responses. And I have to say like multiple times, like, we don't disagree. What you're saying is fine, and I'm not attacking it. And I mean, a lot of that is just people not trusting in the intentions of strangers. If you are asking questions or pointing out inconsistencies, they don't know whether that's coming from a place of curiosity or a place of malice. Yeah. um, that happened to me today. I was just like, some political thread, and I was just like, oh, here's some interesting things about that, or like, here's a perspective, and a lot of like unhappy responses, and I was just like, yeah, we're not against each other. So many simple misunderstandings that could just be explained are we construe it as the other person just being stupid or having malintent. And another big part of that is I think comes down to a matter of time. On Twitter, a matter of character limits. You can't say everything in one tweet. You can kind of make one point. And what happens a lot is you make one point and then people are like, why don't you care about this thing? And why didn't you mention this or this other thing? Or does that mean that you don't also think this? And it's like, okay, no, like it's that we really just are forced to only talk about one thing at a time. And there isn't a lot of as much nuance as you could get into an essay or something. And just a matter of time. There's a lot that we don't say that is implied or that people assume is implied when it's not. You ever see just like one little sentence from someone and you're like, all right, I know where this is going. I know what this person's up to. I know where we're headed. I've had to accept that that's how people view me as well. And they don't always know where I'm going. We have a lot of like, people talk about like virtue signaling, things like that, but we do have little signals that are kind of hard to explain. It's the little certain words that we use or the way that we say things. People will have a good idea from a small amount of information about what type of beliefs you have based on that. You never know where they're going. I'm glad. And yeah, I've started trying a lot harder not to use really charged words where people have strong opinions on what the concepts mean, or the type of person who talks that way, because I know that they're gonna have a lot of feeling towards me before I've said anything. And that's where, yeah, that's the other thing. What happens a lot when you like make a point on Twitter, and then people start going after what they anticipate you're going to say. Get fed up being told that you're only 23, you don't know enough. There's no age limit on evaluating ideas. Anyone can do it. Experience helps. The more perspectives that you can relate to, the easier time you'll have understanding other arguments. But you can still make perfectly reasonable, logical arguments at any point in your life, really. Isn't that enough of a reason not to argue and instead just to foster discussion? Yeah, that's what kind of where we started. We're talking about arguing in the sense of making reasoned arguments and then accepting disagreement. Most people under the age of 18 probably aren't equipped enough to be making a good argument for things. Teenagers and kids can be very intelligent and thoughtful. I mean, their brains haven't fully developed, but they're perfectly capable of logic and reason. So that's kind of a little bit about where we go wrong with arguments and why they usually stop before they ever start. It should be a thing where an argument should resolve something and lead to better understanding. So when you are having a genuine argument that you want to be productive, the place to start is where you agree. That's kind of stereotypical, but it is. Because whoever's disagreeing with you as a person, you give them the benefit of the doubt that they are, they have the capability to reason just like you do and have legitimate reasons why they've come to the conclusions that they have. Even if those conclusions are wrong, it doesn't mean that everything that led them there is wrong. And you probably have a lot of the same beliefs. So you start with feeling out where the agreement and disagreement is. So, well, do you agree this? Do you agree about this? And eventually get to a point where you don't. And then you can see where we're on the same page. Why did we diverge at some point? And a fruitful argument is one where you're going to consider together why your thinking went in different directions and whether it can be reconciled, or whether there's really some fundamental belief that can't be changed. And in that case, there probably is a right and a wrong. But you'll be in a position to judge how important the difference is. And generally just have a better respect for each other, because it's frustrating when people believe things that are incorrect. And it's really easy to just dismiss them as assholes or idiots. But it's really not hard to get to the wrong beliefs through pretty reasonable means. Logical people come to illogical or just incorrect conclusions often. Yeah. And if you're arguing about something that really does get you heated, it is very valuable to, you know, confirm, affirm that the person disagreeing with you also cares very deeply about it and for similar reasons. And that they're just presenting a different solution to the problem. It should be helpful for both of you to talk about what, you know, what the goal is, what the values are, and what you think is right and why you think it. And those are the arguments that are fun to have for me. You too. I know, Chibi, it's totally fine. I think I love it. Like, is this a good example of that thing? And then, you know, that thing immediately starts happening in chat. I love it. I like to argue about things that are just interesting, but not super personal, like space and aliens and stuff. Is there life on other planets? Because you can have big, but like wildly differing opinions on that, but no one's gonna be like if you don't agree with me, then, you know, our relationship can't continue. And having arguments like that is good practice for having the more emotional ones too. I wonder if I could do a social experiment where I talk to people who have the same belief as I do on something. Talk to them in a way that makes them feel like we're at odds and get them to argue against their own point. Social experiment gone right. I don't actually want to do that. I don't enjoy manipulating people. Just kind of interesting to think about, because we get so concerned about being right. I really feel like just the act of appearing to disagree with somebody could get them to, you know, defend arguments that they're not even that invested in. That drives me nuts. When people, you can tell that they're arguing for the sake of being right. And I'm like, I don't think you're wrong. You don't have to defend this point to me. So when do you hold your tongue? If you know that you have a pretty bad disagreement with someone to the point it ruins social occasions around others, when do you know? I mean, I guess it's a personal call. I mean, and a big part of it is the other person's willingness to have a discussion with you. You might want to, but they are not interested in trying to understand you. So you're not going to be able to really get anywhere. And also, you know, how how important the issue is there are some things that are worth worth standing up for at the cost of your relationships. For me, that's, you know, things that I find like hateful, racism and things like that. I won't really play nice about. I'll just come out and say, like, I don't think that's okay, and I won't tolerate you talking like that. Like, but that there's very few things that are like that for me. When you think girls on Twitch get a shit ton of viewers, you find one with 32 viewers. Yeah, 32 whole people who want to listen to me talk. That's actually pretty cool. I've also held my tongue for so much of my life, knowing that a lot of other people don't like questioning their views, and they don't like having those talks. Why do you have those red lines in terms of topics you won't consider discussing? It's not that I won't discuss them. The people I would have those disagreements with usually won't engage. And, that's my way of setting boundaries, of letting another person know that I don't find what they're doing acceptable. So that's really not an argument. That's just removing someone from my life. Because there isn't anything to be gained, in my opinion. But like I said, that it's pretty rare that it comes to that. I have to really think that you have a moral failing that we're not going to work through. And I'm generally pretty understanding of people and why they are the way they are. I scare you. I'm not scary. I have learned through much trial and error how to defend myself. Yeah. So arguing is important. It's good for you when done with someone who is genuine and willing to have a real talk. I won't rip your head off if you disagree with me. You're like a nasty racist, I'll let you know that we're not gonna bond over that. Yeah. Have I clarified what it means to argue and why it's a good thing? Pineapple on pizza is good, and I will fight you about this. Not with my words, with my fists. No, not really. But it's good. You get a little sweet, a little savory. The textures work. It's good stuff. That's another great thing to practice arguing with, because if you are really emotionally charged about that, that's probably not healthy. That's something to argue about for fun. We can also talk about arguing in the sense that most people think about in the sense of taking offense, like an argument between lovers. Hello, Shawnee the Tank. How would you weight your emotional disagreement with an idea to logical disagreement? So something that I think is really important to understand is that emotion and reason aren't things that are at odds. Your emotion is very important for, informing your sense of value and importance. Your emotion is why it matters to you, and it's good. Caring is good. It's a sign that, emotion is a sign that you care about something, and that's very important. You can have strong emotion, and that doesn't have to prevent you from making an argument that is reasonable and coherent. I really don't like sayings like, what do they say? If you're mad, you've lost. You've already lost. You just need to clarify, like, when I'm having a disagreement with someone and I'm getting heated, I'll say, I'm getting mad, but I'm not mad at you. I'm not getting heated at you. I'm getting, my intensity is about this subject that matters to me a lot, and getting it right. And that's super important to remember, that an argument is about ideas. It's not about offense. And it's good. It's good to have some passion. And I've tried to get better about that when I'm being very direct about my arguments, to step back and say, I appreciate that you're talking to me about this, and I appreciate that you care as much as I do about this topic. If you hear an idea that makes you sick to your core but makes logical sense, how do you deal with it? Well, you're gonna have to do a little work to figure out what's really going on to make you react that way. What really is it that's so upsetting about the idea? That's hard to explain without an example. I guess like, what's an idea that's logical but upsetting? Um, I'm thinking of real hardcore fascism, like someone who would be able to make an argument for eugenics, and they might be able to make very reasonable arguments using real biological facts, maybe even real agreed upon knowledge about human nature. But where your disagreement isn't in those facts. It's something way more basic in your foundation of reality, in the way that you decide value, what's valuable, who is valuable and deserving of protection. Because where you probably disagree isn't in, there's a bunch of facts that you probably do agree on, but where your disagreement is more fundamental to I believe humans are inherently valuable. You do not. And that is an argument that you can have. That is reasonable and logical. You can have a philosophical discussion about value. I personally wouldn't want to have that conversation with somebody who's that far gone, unless they really did seem like they were capable of being understanding and genuine. So it might be hard to figure out where the logical disagreement is, but it's there somewhere. Hi, A-Cow. And that's why I think the heart of why arguing is very distressing to people, a lot of people, because there is a lot of labor involved in really knowing what you think and why you think it. It takes a lot of time to get there. And it can be complicated to understand why you have such strong emotions towards something that you believe to be true. Did I answer the question? Because you do see that a lot. There's so many people that I see where I'm like, you're a reasonable person, you know how logic works, and you can make good arguments. But just like, where's your humanity? Where is it? And that's a more fundamental difference of opinion than something like are private schools and or public schools better or something like that, where it's a little, the issue is clearer. What's up, Nitro? First time you've been here on a non-Neo stream. Well, hello. We've been talking about arguments. Yeah, I was just talking for a good long while, about an hour, about where we go wrong when we argue and how to have more productive arguments. Yeah, but these are more like disagreements about the world, you know, maybe disagreeing about society and things like that. Do you guys want to talk about personal arguments, like in the sense of like hurt feelings and things like that, like between friends? I got in, my boyfriend and I had a fight about a blanket. And it was, I don't know, we're not fighters. Like, we don't really get mad at each other. We've had like little moments where, you know, like moments of like short temper, things like that. But this was like a real argument, and I was like, whoa. This is a different topic. This is different from philosophical arguments. We had a fight about a blanket because I was getting ready to go to the park. I wanted to go somewhere where I could focus, do a little writing and thinking. And I was making a little backpack to take with me. And there is this little blanket that I used to keep in the back of my car. It's like emergency blanket. It's a useful thing to have back there. You're at an event or something and it gets chilly. At some point, yeah, always got to have a blanket. At some point, I brought the blanket into the house, and we've been using it as a throw blanket. And my boyfriend uses it most days. He like usually has it at his desk and like puts it over his shoulders. So I was kind of looking around for a blanket, and I was like, oh, this is a good blanket. I'll use this one. It's the right size. And he was like, are you gonna take that to the park to sit on? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, that's my desk blanket. Can you take a towel or something? And I was like, this is too small. This is the perfect size blanket for sitting in the park. And he's like, well, this is the only blanket that's good for wrapping around my shoulders. He didn't want me to like take it and get it all dirty. He uses it every day. And I said, I'm pretty sure that's my blanket. And he got very instantly like, whoa. Like, I could tell he was mad, and he kind of left and went and sat down. All right. See you, Chibi. Oh, wait. You're not leaving. You're typing something. I am realizing that I'm telling this story very slowly. It's a little boring. I apologize. Anyway, I think you might be able to see where this is going. But I waited a little bit, and then I was getting ready to go, and I was like, kind of like, hey, are you mad? And I was like, I didn't mean it like that. I don't think it's just my blanket. You're allowed to use the blanket. And he was like, honestly, I am mad. And I'm just going to tell you I'm mad instead of like bottling it up or anything. And I was like, okay, that's good. And I kind of left. I was going to leave him alone, let him be mad for a little bit. I went ahead and took the blanket to the park. And then I was thinking about like, how much responsibility should I take for doing the emotional work here? Should I go back and should I go back and make sure that things are okay? Let him think about it for a little bit. And then, there was a part of me that was like, the whole reason I wanted to get this blanket was so that I could go focus. And I still want to be able to do that and not have all my focus go towards this new problem. So I went ahead and went to the park, and I was thinking like, I apologized. He's still mad. And I need to let it be his work to tell me why, like if this is something that's really affecting him, and he wants to talk about it, then I gotta let him be the one who brings it up. But I wanted, even though I didn't feel like I had done anything, really mean or worth being angry about, I wanted him to know that I care, that I care that he feels bad. I don't want him, it doesn't feel good to be mad. I did something that was hurtful to him. So after doing my work for a couple hours at the park, came back, I got him some coffee. I washed and dried the blankie and wrapped it around him and let him know it's his too. And he stayed pretty mad the whole day. And when we finally talked about it, I finally understood like why. When we finally talked about it, I was like, wow, I feel like I can't believe I didn't understand why that would be like kind of a cruel thing to say. Because the whole day after I said that's my blanket, he was thinking of, oh, so that's what we're doing. We're dividing the house into your things and my things. And he said, like, as soon as I said that, he just like, there was like a radar that kind of like went through his mind where he was seeing like his stuff as blue, and anything that I brought into the house is like red and off limits. I thought this was an interesting story because I can imagine another version of myself that was just
oh yeah.
Fuck, that was loud. Hi, Carson. I just had a goddamn heart attack. I love ya. I can't believe you've been subscribed to me for almost 50 years. Holy shit, I haven't been alive that long. That's incredible. Hi, I love you. But yeah, the reason I was thinking about this is because I can imagine
a different version of myself that was just, you know, like, he doesn't have a reason to be mad and it's bullshit that he's mad at me. Yeah, so I'm happy to share, like, I think a healthy way that we worked it out. And arguments that come from actual offense of something hurtful causing a disagreement, as opposed to logical disagreements or just differences of opinion. And those types of arguments, I think, need to be handled with a few steps. That's a situation where first it's not all that important whether what you did was a big bad thing or not. If someone expresses hurt about something that you do, like, you should be able to show that you care about their hurt, even if you disagree that it's hurtful. It doesn't change the fact that it was hurtful to them. I think kind of Carson, but not really. Right now I'm just kind of telling the story.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck me. 2-pack with a D. Happy 2-month anniversary. I turned this down, but it didn't turn down enough. Why is this so loud? Why is this so loud? Welcome back, 2-pack. Where am I going with this story? So yeah. I usually, like, I feel like at this point in my life, I've got things figured out pretty well. So I don't have a lot of times where I'm like, what's the right thing to do here? Where I'm not really sure. You know, I was really thinking about it. I was like, what do I need to do to make him feel better? Make him know that, like, the way, you know, I don't think about things as mine versus yours, because that's what a miserable way to, like, live with somebody. So when I apologized, I told him, you know, that I was sorry, and not just sorry because you got mad at me, not just sorry that your feelings are hurt. I don't like that your feelings are hurt, but that's not the only reason I'm sorry. You know, you have to show that you understand, like, why. Some understanding so that they know that you understand why it was hurtful. So yeah, I said, not just sorry that you were hurt by it, but I'm sorry because that's not how I feel about things. And I'm surprised that it didn't occur to me at the time, like, why that was a shitty thing to say. And, you know, what can I do to help you believe me? And honestly, that conversation wasn't immediately helpful. He still felt bad, but, you know, by the next day, he was kind of like, sorry, I got so mad yesterday. It was important to really pinpoint where that misunderstanding was. Mad. And that is the key to a successful argument. Figuring out not just being right or making the problem go away as quick as possible, but really coming to an understanding of where the misunderstanding is. And that, I think, is all I've got to say about arguments. Like, it could have been terrible. Like, he could have not said anything. He could have just been quietly mad and spending the next month thinking, saying, oh, are you going to use my pillow and little shit like that? I could have taken it badly when he told me he was mad. Letting people feel things is important. I can just imagine a lot of situations where we just get increasingly pissed off at each other instead of, looking at why something that shouldn't be a big deal felt like a big deal. And yeah, I, especially as like a teenager, that used to be like the way to make me mad, was to simply be mad at me. If someone showed anger towards me, I would instantly be like, you got a problem with me? What? There's something really triggering about someone being mad at you. It's weird. Because, we all think we're good people, and, that I like to think I don't do much that would inspire people to be angry with me. So it's easy when someone does get angry, or if they do end up expressing hurt at what you've done, it's very natural to be like, well, fuck you, I didn't do anything, and then kind of really, give them a reason to be mad. You were not confrontational, but like, that was just the thing that would make me mad. Someone that I would just, I don't know, people's expectations of you, I think, can really affect how you behave. If someone expected me to be hostile, then it would make me feel more hostile. Thanks, Spoon Galaxy. I try. Yeah. So that's the theme, and the message of all this is you can get a lot of clarity and strengthen your bonds with people and get a deeper sense and security in your own beliefs by treating other people with the value and respect they deserve, and being able to take the time to consider that you might be wrong, and either prove that you're not, or adjust what you're doing to be better. And I'm done. That's it. Separate your ideas a little bit from your you. It's okay to consider that some of the things that you believe might be wrong. It doesn't mean that you as a person are wrong or bad. Very, the smartest people, the geniuses of the world, have lots of beliefs that they've had to adjust or that they've been wrong about. And you got to give people the benefit of the doubt that they too are capable of having good reasons for what they think, even if their conclusion is not quite right. Feminist group was pushing a drug advertised to increase sexual desire in women. The drug was tested poorly and the results were awful. They still wanted the drug approved. Oh, geez. I missed the first part of this conversation, but that seems like a bad situation. And, it's always extra tricky to have a disagreement about a particular argument within a big group of beliefs. Like, hi Zango. If I bring something up that is a known feminist issue, I'll get a lot of responses that aren't related to the point being made because there's too many ideas about what kind of person it makes me to have a feminist belief and all the other things that I must also believe. And gets complicated when people's identities are really strongly tied up in certain beliefs like that. Are you gonna crochet him a blanket? I'm gonna get a dedicated picnic blanket, outside blanket, so we can preserve the inside blankets. A reason why I'm not religious or political. Yeah. And it's why it's why lately I've been trying to be more thoughtful about the language I use, because it's the signaling that we do, whether intentional or not, that people pick up on, and then they fill in a lot of blanks. And that makes it hard to actually see and evaluate an individual idea without just kind of tossing out the whole person as one of them. You're good, Chibi. I don't have much else to say. And just some of the stuff that I've been thinking about lately. And I was interested when I asked people to disagree with me in my Discord. I didn't expect it to make people so uncomfortable, and some people did get really uncomfortable by that. And then felt like I was gather round, kids. We're going to talk about arguing. We're going to give you a little philosophy 101 and why it's okay to disagree. How do you keep calmer heads during an argument? Kind of repeating what I said, but remind yourself and the other person that, you know, where the passion lies. And it's okay to be upset and to let people know that you're upset. I will often during an argument tell the other person my anger, not at you. It's at this thing that we're talking about. That matters a lot to me. And if you get to the point where you're so heated that you can't be productive, then it's okay to walk away from a conversation. You don't owe it to anybody to sit down and defend everything that you think. It's okay to say, you know, I can't really talk about this with civility. Let's either talk about it later or agree to disagree. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it can be hard. You just understand what you feel, try to understand why you feel it, and you might have to just remind yourself of what the point of talking about this is. The point is understanding. I want the other person to understand what I'm saying, and I want to try to understand how they got to the conclusions that they did. And there shouldn't be a lot to get angry about if you are mutually listening and explaining things to each other. Hello, MHMR. And it's hard to walk away because you know, they're gonna be like, yeah, that's right. You don't want, you know, like, we're not 8 years old. You know, people say things like, right, yeah, they didn't answer because they don't have a response. We're Foxhound. Hello. Thank you so much for the Twitch Prime subscription. Welcome. We're talking about when to argue and why. And the situations in which you don't need to invite people to disagree with you. That a spider on your wall? Where? The black, that thing? I think that is a hole in the wall from the doorknob. Yep, nope, just a hole in the wall. Thank you for the bit. So yeah, I think a big part of why people can't argue is because people aren't good at dealing with strong emotions. you know, if you are visibly passionate, there's the fear that you're going to be perceived as weak or irrational because we don't have much respect for the emotions that we feel typically. Knowing that there's nothing wrong with being mad. There's something wrong with lashing out when you're mad. But anger itself is good and healthy. You should get angry about some things and be able to express why. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes part of figuring out how to deal with anger is knowing when you gotta just remove yourself for a minute. And yeah, what I was just saying, that's hard to do. Because it's easy for someone to say you're not responding because you know I'm right. You don't owe those people anything. You really don't. And you can say, it's perfectly fine to say, I don't have time for this conversation right now, or I don't have energy for this right now, or I just don't feel like having this conversation. Totally fine to do. I tell people that I'm angry, and if we continue to talk about X, then I'm going to say things that aren't nice. Yeah, you got to know that about yourself. If you can feel yourself getting out of control, you know that you need to be able to self-regulate. I haven't had a lot of those moments in my life, but I've had a few where I've had to be like, I'm mad and you need to stay away from me right now. That's part of understanding yourself and setting boundaries. That's the problem, Nitro. It's easy to take things personally that don't need to be personal. And easy to misunderstand other people's intentions. You need to be able to remind yourself that you care about your beliefs. You probably care a lot about what is right versus what's wrong. You probably care a lot about what is true versus what's false. And arguing about it is a way to confirm or adjust those beliefs that you have. And that's something that you should want to do. You should want to have good beliefs that you stand behind. So a disagreement is an opportunity to either strengthen that belief or to adjust it to be better. A good argument can't hurt you.
why not just discuss an idea? Because the discussion of the idea is interesting. That is what you should do. Lots of stuff gets in the way. You gotta learn to focus and know what it is you're discussing. It's hard to discuss a single issue if you think the person you're discussing it with has some fundamental belief that's incompatible with you as a person. If someone has a really different idea from you about what's right or wrong, you might see them as someone who doesn't have good morals, maybe, or who's questioning yours. It's more likely that you have a lot of the same beliefs and have just come to different conclusions about something in particular. It's we have, like I said, there isn't time and brain power to really defend every belief that we have before we accept it. Some things we just have to accept, or we have to let our brain kind of fill it in, and that applies to people too. We get a conception of a person and what they're like from very little information, a couple of things that they said. So let them talk a little bit. Hell yeah, Fry. Right. The biggest issue is when people start getting emotional and start insulting each other when there's no need. Yeah, it's the insulting that's the problem. Getting emotional is natural and also part of a healthy process of disagreement. What you do with it matters. There are perfectly good ways to express negative emotions, and there's a lot of harmful ones. Hi, Kat. So it is, I think that's why I found the argument I had with my boyfriend to be relevant, because it's about how important it is to express that negative emotion just honestly and frankly without making it a huge thing. This is a topic that makes me mad. Makes me mad for this reason. That is a conversation that is both emotional and reasonable. And if all else fails, there's always hand-to-hand combat. It's good stuff, Nitro. I don't know. I want to write like a book on emotion, on emotions and emotional intelligence.
we're so scared of expressing anger. I don't even know if scared's the right word, but we try really hard not to feel anger. And anger's a biological process. It's a, we have it for a reason. It's for survival and our protection. It would be a very bad thing if humans never got angry. I want to make it my life work, Fry, to get people in touch with their feelings. You just can't fix problems that you pretend aren't there. And that's what an emotion is. It's your body telling you if there's a problem. And if there's a problem, then you should care. Be happy. Like, I'm glad this problem has been brought to my attention so I can do something about it. Thanks, adrenaline. You're a good, reasonable person. You can figure out what to do with that. So yeah, thinking of disagreements and arguments as problems you're considering together. See it as a problem that you're mutually interested in. See if you can figure out what it is that's misunderstood. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to discuss emotions, Nitro, because you're not encouraged to do it. If you talk about your emotions too much, people are like, hey, get a therapist. You're bumming me out. Stop. And yeah, when we're growing up, we have to learn self-control. It's important. But we don't usually have someone who helps us understand the difference between what we felt and what we did. You're going to get in trouble for acting out when you're mad. And your takeaway might be that being mad was the bad thing. That's just your sense of... I believe that anger is where our sense of justice comes from. When you get mad, it's because, there was some slight against you. And, every day, all the time, Nitro. I did like one of my longer streams was about how we teach emotional intelligence, and I gave the example of a kid getting in trouble for pushing someone in class or something. The person who expresses their anger is usually the one who gets the negative consequence, as opposed to the person who caused the anger. If someone takes something that's yours, or says something hurtful to you, or gets into your personal space, then anger is the correct thing to feel. That's your inner knowledge that it's not okay for someone to treat me that way. And you kind of need help to learn what you should do in that situation. But when you're a little kid and you don't know, and someone does something to you and you smack them, you get in big trouble. And that just goes on throughout your whole life of getting negative feedback about how you handle your anger. So you try not to feel anger. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Why you should be mad. Or be happy then. Be happy when you're mad. Is that possible? Yeah, you can spend a lot of time just being... It's a terrible cycle of, something makes you mad, and then you get mad at yourself for being mad. Keep getting madder and madder, all the while telling yourself, I'm not mad. Yeah. We all have a lot of experience of bad things happening after we got mad. So it makes sense that we think that there's something wrong with us if we're mad, or it's a character failing or something to have anger. It's only bad if you do bad things in response. Anger itself is just a fact about your current state. It's not good or bad, it's just some information. I should be a therapist. I want to go back to school, make some YouTube videos. I've been out of things to say for a while. YouTube videos. Welcome back, Chippy. I think this has been a good talk. I'm glad. I'm trying to make a habit of when I feel myself like my outlet for like so much of my thinking is Twitter, and it's not a very good outlet for the kind of thinking I like to do. So when I feel myself like ready to go off on Twitter, I'm just like, all right, well, let's turn this into a stream instead, because it's a lot easier to just sit down and talk about it than try to type it out and make it coherent in 10 characters. Oh, Fry. I mean, shouting is frightening. I don't think that's unusual. People shouldn't, like, if people shout too much. Shouting should really be reserved for actual critical, dangerous moments. Yeah. A moment that I'm very ashamed of is there was a time that I screamed at a room of children as I was just hit my breaking point of frustration and trying my best to be cool and get this class under control, and I screamed at him. And I came back and sat them all down and apologized and told them that what I did's not okay. That's not a good way to react when you're angry, and that it's not okay for anyone to yell at you, at any of you. It's not okay to yell at each other. It's not okay for adults to yell at you. Most kids are going to get yelled at a lot, though. But yeah, they talk about, in early childcare, they always talk about teachable moments, because kids are going to witness you fuck up and do shitty things. So you got to talk to them about what to do instead. I was a preschool teacher for a while. But yeah, if someone shouting upsets you, that's a good response. It's upsetting and unnecessary. What did they do? They were shocked. That shit, it is hard. Because you can't do anything that you wouldn't let them do. You can't raise your voice if you have a rule that they can't raise their voices, because they're just little mirrors and do whatever you do. Yeah, it's not like if it's your own kid and they're doing something dangerous and you just pick them up. You know, can't be physical with them. You really just have to, little by little, help them see the value in good behavior. It's like inspiring a bunch of kids to do what you want them to do at the time in their life where they have just learned that they're a person who can say no to things. Takes a lot of problem solving. They've never, it's their first experience of being in a group setting. There's so many things to be mad about when you're in a room with a bunch of other people for the first time who are in your space, competing for the things you want to play with. I'm really happy that I taught preschool. Had to teach a bunch of little people what to do when they're mad or upset. Now I can teach big people what to do when they're mad. Yeah, for 3 years, Zango. And I worked with kids before that in a non-academic setting. I was a camp counselor. That was fun. But being a teacher's different because of how much more order and structure you need to be able to create. 30 little people who can very easily distract each other from important tasks. Figuring out how to convince them that it's important. You sit quietly for some time. Take some witchcraft. Oh yeah, Fryan. Oh yeah. It's still is just like insane to me. I'm like, how did I don't have no fucking clue how I did that. How did I get all these other little people, all these totally out of control little people to do these very structured things every single day? I can't even like open my mail and pay my bills, but I can get these kids doing math and writing and eating lunch when they're supposed to, and dude, everything's so systematic. We do this at this time, we do this at this time. It's always the same. You are a people pleaser, but when you're arguing, you can't admit that you're wrong. It's hard to admit that you're wrong. We don't want to be wrong. It's something that you never have, you never stop having to remind yourself that you can be wrong about things without being wrong as a person. Good to have some reasons to think about what you believe and why. It's good to consider ways that you might be wrong about things. If you care about yourself and care about what's right, then you will care about making sure that your beliefs are as solid as they can be, which takes a lot of adjusting over time. Hell yeah, Fu Manchu. Oh yeah, Nitro. Honestly, Fry, I'm surprised I only had that the one time with the screaming, because yeah, it's so much more. I've handled less stress so much more poorly than all those stressful times in the classroom. My stress tends to be related to, or my ability to function under stress has a lot to do with my, my perception of whether or not someone else is in charge. Like when I'm in a situation where everybody's freaking out, it's very easy for me to like turn it off and be like, okay, we're gonna do this, this, and this. But if someone is already in the leadership role, then I'm just gonna sit down and cry. and say, why isn't everyone freaking out about this? Now, when you're the first time you're in a room with a bunch of little people and there's some type of emergency and everyone looks at you, that's the moment you realize you're an adult for the first time. Like, oh shit, I'm the one who has to do, I'm the one who's gonna deal with this, aren't I? All right, everybody, here we go. This is what we're gonna do. Oh geez, Platt. Hi, Ludus. You made it to the tail end, where I sit here quietly and wait for chat to give me something else to talk about. Yeah, it's hard to be wrong. Good to learn how to accept that. I don't know, that's how people get so set in their ways. You know, there's like those backwards old people where you're like, ah, they're too far gone, they're not going to change because they, you know, haven't probably had a long time since they reconsidered what they think. But shouldn't expect to get to a point where you no longer have to be thoughtful. Being old doesn't mean you've got it all figured out. There's always going to be things that you don't have figured out. Hi, Helios. Nitro is just, you just do it. Oh no. I feel lucky that in like a truly stressful situation like that, I'm always surprised by like how quickly I just get to working. There are like so many things that stress me out that I'll just spend years thinking about and going over, having horrible anxiety about, but in an actual emergency, there's none of that. It's just action. Ew, get rid of those, Chibi. I hope it feels like a super pimple forming in my left eyebrow. Oh, the deep ones are the worst. And there's nothing you can do. All you can do is wait. Some acid on it. A bird flew into the classroom when they were in an assembly. That's like a sitcom problem. That's so stressful and funny. Like trying not to be distracting while a fucking bird is flapping around and you can't get it. A fancy exfoliating wash, excellent. And yeah, there's always shit that was, there's every single day there's shit where you're like, I'm pretty sure this is not my job, but it's definitely my responsibility right now, and it sucks. Did he have a bathroom pass? I found like usually just bugs like beetles and stuff in the classroom. One day there was a bat on the playground. And I was just like, all right, how do I do something about this without getting everyone interested? I don't want anyone getting rabies right now or trying to touch it. Just kind of like slowly scoot towards it, like paper on top and quietly call animal control. The one with Fran and the bird. I would watch this show. Nothing to see here, Carson. Yeah, especially with little kids. A great way to get them to show interest in something they shouldn't is to go, stay away from this. Best part of college is just going to the bathroom out of nowhere during class. Dude, it's insane. High schools and like, there's so many weird ways we treat kids that are fucked up. My preschoolers did not have to ask me to go to the bathroom because what the fuck? That's why? You gotta go, you gotta go. Has anyone ever been bitten by a ladybug? I had no idea they bite. All of the ladybugs I've encountered have been gentle little angels. Any experiences with particularly obnoxious preschool parents? Not terribly, honestly. I would either be in when there were like problematic parents, I was either in the position where I was an assistant to a lead teacher who wanted to be the one to talk to them and told me not to get involved, which was actually frustrating because a lot of the time I wanted to, be able to mediate. Or the last school that I worked at, the director of the school, the owner of the school, was really good at having my back. There were a few times where like a parent would try to ambush me and he would come out right away and be like, go back to your classroom. I'll take care of this. Okay, Chibi, have fun. Actually, more than having parents who were, I didn't have a lot of challenging parents because most of them trusted me. Hi, Punani. And they want to have good relationships with their school. I was actually more surprised by how often they would ask me for advice that I was not qualified to give. And I was like, oh, shit, I gotta be professional and pretend I know what I'm talking about, I guess, because I don't have kids. They would want to know what they should do in like certain situations at home, and I was like, I've never tried to raise a kid before. I don't know. Go, what should I do if this happens? And I'm like, well, I've never thought about that before. What should you do? Ladybugs can bite? What did you do to that poor ladybug? Oh, wing it till it sounds like you're an expert. They usually seem pretty satisfied with what I said. I also am very skilled at the pretend you're pooping so they can't ask you questions method of parent-teacher interaction. And I do know a lot about how to help kids do the right thing. But yeah, it's still weird when someone older than you with more experience asks for your help. It's hard to think of yourself as an authority. Who am I to tell you what you should do with your kid in your own home? I'm just some girl who takes care of your kid every day and, you know, teaches them how to be a person and read and all that. But still, where's your coffee? I drank it before I started streaming. I was talking earlier about how I think I'm gonna. I think we need a new title. Coffee with Fieldy isn't quite right. There's usually no coffee. Rename it to LaCroix with Fieldy. Yep. Something that is descriptive of the content instead of me. Fieldy with talking. I think I'm gonna call it, Does Anyone Want to Talk? I think that's gonna be my new YouTube channel. Small girl in empty room speaks to camera. I gotta get at least a tapestry or something. Probably improve the sound quality in here, a little less bouncing. Fielding questions, that's good. No, I think I'm gonna call it Does Anyone Want to Talk? Because that's usually what I say before I get started or before I decide to do a stream on a topic. Like, does anyone want to talk about this? Looks like you just moved in. It's not that important to me to add flair to a space. I like a distraction-free space. The less stuff, the better. Makes it sound like a suicide hotline. Yeah, I guess it does kind of make it sound like it's for the lonely people out there who need somebody. I have a hard time finding people who love to talk about things in as much depth as I do. So I'm looking. Anyone out there want to talk to me? Hello? Okay, a comic first. Pain titled Then. Should a parent teacher verbally disciplining a child? Second, titled Now. Should a parent and child verbally disciplining a teacher? Oh yeah, I've seen that one. I think that's more like with high school and stuff because there's the focus. You know, preschool we don't have grades and test scores, and it's more obvious that my goals and the parents' goals are the same, to do the right, you know, raise a good little person, but the goals for a parent and a teacher at a high school aren't necessarily the same. The teacher has pressure to get the kids to perform academically and do well on tests. The parent wants their kid to get good grades so that they can secure a better future. So they're gonna get mad. Their kids don't get good grades. You're gonna come to the teacher and say, what the hell? I have a big problem with schools. So many problems with schools. Yeah, it's a problem that a good parent and a good teacher, by the standards that we have for schools right now, don't necessarily align. That's a big problem. Yeah, high school is preparing kids to create capital. And there are a lot of skills that you need to be a good person and live a good life that you don't need to produce capital and labor. I don't necessarily agree with the purpose of schools these days. Hi, Benoit. I've talked before and talk kind of a lot about the problem with capitalism in America, and it's not an argument that capitalism is terrible as an economic system. The problem is that we have a situation where our economic system has replaced our other systems. It's replaced our social system, our education system, replaced our democracy, where the person who has the most money is most likely to come into positions of power. And really everything in our society is geared towards the production of capital. And I think that's really harmful to people and communities. Hi, Fried. You're not ignored. Hello. There's so many things that we should be teaching kids in school. But there's really only a focus on output and getting ahead of others. Oh, do you want to send it, Kite? We can go back. there are other ways to judge the value of things. Outside of the money aspect. Nitro, that's great. That makes me so happy to hear. Make those suckers worldwide. Talking about how does anyone want to talk seems a bit like a cry for attention. Yeah, I can see that. Teachers have the unfortunate position of being emotionally invested in their job. It just makes sense to love your kids, but that really gets in the way of organizing demand and better wages and better conditions and stuff. Yeah. The first school that I worked at, like, I was so in love with the kids I worked with. I had really big problems with the director of that school. I felt like I was in the position where I had to choose between doing what I thought was the correct thing to do for the kids' sake and doing what my boss wanted me to do. And it was really hard to make the decision to leave that job because I wanted to be there for my babies, and my leaving meant that her style that I found abusive and harmful was going to be what all they were going to get. But that was my first experience in an actual school, and I wanted to have my own classroom, and I wanted my first classroom where I was the lead teacher to be somewhere where I could do it right. So I looked for a school that I thought I would be happier at. That's just the case with the preschool. So I don't know. My parents have talked to me a lot. They like, you should get back into teaching. Why don't you do high school or something? And I'm like, I don't know if I can. I would be so mad all the time about like the bureaucratic side of it. I don't really have a willingness to follow rules that I don't believe in. And I don't know. I've got too much pride for it. What if you wrote children's book? I think about it. It's in line with what I'm doing. Except for instead of you guys being my children, it would be for actual children. But the more I trim down my ideas for the videos that I want to do, they're gonna be more, they should be more simplified to the point a child could understand it. So it might turn into a little script for a kid's book too. Fieldy's Guide to Surviving School. Fieldy's Guide to why it's not your fault your dad's yelling at you. Everyone should be nice, especially to me, by Diana. Yep, that's my book. What's your education? So yeah, I don't have the education right now to do higher level teaching, even if I wanted to. I have a bachelor's degree in philosophy, and I have a Montessori. It's a type of private school. I have a Montessori certificate, teaching certificate for ages 2 to 6, 3 to 6, something like that. I don't even know, for young kids. So, yeah. The teaching education that I have is pretty limited. It's for early childhood education for a particular type of school. Oh shit, yeah, Punani. I was almost a double major. I was double majoring in Spanish, but I was I think 8 credits short. Hi, Kat. Can I help you? Would you like some love? Education is in the STEM field. Philosophy is a little frustrating because it gets you interested in so many other areas. Like, the more I get into it, the more I'm like, fuck, I wish I studied math or physics. Not that I can't, but I can't do it as well by myself as I could if someone was teaching it to me. The way he strolled, yeah, he's all right. Get to knock my microphone over. He's the man of the house and he knows it. Get that butthole off the camera, you little hoe. Trying to become a high school English teacher. Cool. People like math. Okay, math. I didn't realize that math was interesting until I was out of school, and I'm upset about it. I didn't have any inspiring math teachers. But math is fascinating and holds all the secrets of the universe. If I could force myself to have an obsession with something, be one of those people who just thinks about math all the time and solves problems. But I can't. I'm never gonna make myself care that much enough to do all the work involved. But math rules. Right. Okay. Can I help you? I read a good biography of Paul Erdős. I hope that's how you say his name. Jesus. He was a mathematician. And
Oh, yeah.
super interesting.
Druid talk.
The Lady May.
Thank you so much. Tied with Carson for my longest subs and Squeaky. 50 years almost. 4 freaking years. Holy shit. There's no way I've been on Twitch for 4 years. That can't, like, how did you guys subscribe to me before it was possible? How did you do this? There's no way it's been that long. And yeah, I don't know, fried hit, I don't know how much of that is like the teachers themselves or the way schools require teachers to teach. But I guess there's just not a lot of time. You have to teach the kids the formulas so that they can perform on tests. But I'm like, why didn't any of my teachers show me how fucking cool math is? What the hell? I have to figure it out on my own. Holy shit, 6 o'clock. What's for dinner? I'm hungry. I'm gonna have some meatloaf. Boy, he's a thick boy. The thickness. Thick as a bowl of oatmeal. Speaking of meatloaf, I got a loaf of meat right here. Yeah, there isn't time. There isn't time to take a day to do the fun stuff. You gotta memorize. And then the kids who do memorize it and who would be ready to do the interesting stuff have to sit around and wait while everyone else catches up. Math classes in school were torture. I was always so bored. I either understood what was going on and just sat there, or got too bored to care and sat there not understanding it. The pace did not work for me. So I was like, my math grades were always like up and down. I'd do like really, really well. And then stop giving a shit, do really bad. Like, oh, God damn it, fine, I'll pay attention, do well again. Yeah, pot stickers, it's rough. Yeah? That get your blood flowing, little math? You know what I'm gonna do tonight? I'm gonna go to Vsauce's channel and watch every math video. Even people who make it interesting, it's still kind of hard to follow. I was watching his videos on math-based magic tricks, and even with like him slowing it down and doing like diagrams and explanations, I was like, I believe this is true, but my brain does not comprehend why. I'm not getting it. Oh yeah, Taiba, that's what we do. That's what we did last night. Eat ice cream and watch Vsauce. And I got really excited because his videos are usually about physics, but I found a few that were on purely philosophical topics. And I was like, that's what I like to do. Now I have proof it works in this format. And I can do it too. There was nothing science-based about this video. You love that channel. What are some other channels like Vsauce? When I try to look for like, I don't know how to search for new YouTube channels. I was looking up, I think I looked up channels like Vsauce or like YouTube channels that will make you smarter, and there's a lot of really boring ones that come up. Minute Physics. Physics Girl. I used to watch Vi-Heart a lot. Who would do math doodles. I don't know if she still does the tubes. Curse sect. I'm gonna have to copy and paste that one. My brain's never gonna remember those letters in that order. 10 YouTube channels play for your baby in the cradle that will improve their SATs. It's so sad. The last This American Life was about getting into school, and they interviewed like an admissions person at one of the big schools, one of the top 10s, I think. And he was telling a story about a mom of a second grader who called and said that her son wanted to get into astrophysics, and how should he start preparing for his admissions. And they were like, don't, your kid's 7. What are you talking about? Go get some ice cream and go to the park, you nutbag. All right, this channel that I can't pronounce, Minute Physics, Physics Girl, number file. Cody's motherfucking lab, is that a thing? How do I prepare my 6-year-old for his future career as an astrophysicist? Probably let him keep being interested in things that interest him. Willy Wonka's motherfucking chocolate factory, bruh. You guys ever read anything by Philosophy Bro? I used to read that blog a lot in college. I thought it was hilarious how he just described complex topics like a bro. Bad words and everything. CPG Gray. See, I'll be fine if I don't think of a good channel name. If Kurzgesagt and CPG Gray could make it. Impossible to remember names. When you hear someone you just met say bro, what assumptions do you make about them? That they have a baseline level of enthusiasm that I can't relate to in social situations, and then probably like beer a lot and working out, or they're being ironic. I always like, even just seeing the word bro writtenly, I hear it as bro, like loud and excited. Someone who's really excited to talk to you. I'm tired just thinking about it. Brah. I talk a lot for someone who gets really tired when other people talk to me. What? Read the word unironic. Oh, like uniron. Oh, I get it. Unironic. Well, shucks. Now someone has Kite. Thank you. You didn't name your Pokemon in that Nuzlocke thing you did. I did. We had one for Kite. Zero, the Pokemon Master. Ethel. Blue Tiki. Was that 5? Who else? Tybucks is our Charizard. Yeah. Did I name 6? I can't count. Super cool that you guys are willing to sit here, chat with me in my empty office. I gotta give you guys something. Add some visual interest to this room. I'm gonna get a tree. I moved the mini fridge out so that I could put a tree in that spot, but then I never got a tree. Something for the wall. It seems like the less I do, the more people are into it, Kite. Sit down, eat a burrito. They're like, this is awesome. You're doing great work, Fieldy. Oh my God, please, May. That would be my dream come true. Oh, I can do some painting. I'll put my own paintings on the wall. Oh, sweet. Thanks, Tybucks. I think I might have looked at Veritasium. Smarter every day. Real life lore. Is that a history channel? What I've learned. I feel really bad when I click on a YouTube video that seems like it's gonna have really interesting content and I can't get past like an annoying voice. I'm like, oh man, I'm a piece of shit, but I'm turning it off. You might have the most brilliant things to say, but you'll have to write it down. I don't know. I think I had a lot of years of undiagnosed ADD. Probably why I have a hard time listening to a lot of people. I have to try harder than I should to focus. There's so many steps involved to listening to somebody. Got to hear the words, got to pay attention to them. You have to understand the individual words and how they go together. And if you're with them in person, then you have to think about responding and like what your face should do. Exhausting. I've stumbled on some Vsauce 2 and 3 just from like recommended / related videos. I'm really bad at listening, Lady May. Even like TV shows, I like to have subtitles on because I don't know. Sounds just kind of don't always register to me as important. It's really easy for me to not hear things. Then everybody thinks I hate them or that I'm an asshole. I'm like, sorry. I love you and I'm interested in what you're saying, but I'm gonna need you to say it 2 or 3 more times. I don't know about Absolver. Oh, me too, Kite. I've had to learn to talk louder. Especially my first like year of streaming. Everyone was just like, "What are you saying? Why can we hear other people in the house but not you?" But I like talking softly and I like people who talk softly. It's pleasant. And when you talk softly to people, they usually talk softly back. And yeah, I do tend to live with people who scream constantly, ironically. Yeah, me too, May. All right. It's been like an hour and a half since I ran out of things to say and have remained sitting here. Thanks for sitting with me. I think I'm gonna go get some meatloaf and check out some of these YouTube channels. Actually, Punani, I found it a lot more useful to talk really quietly as a teacher because everyone has to be really quiet in order to hear you. If you're talking loudly, it requires less focus. So a soft voice is actually a good way to get people to lean in and try to catch it. But yeah, if you're teaching in like a lecture hall or something, then you should probably speak up and project. But if it's a bunch of little kids sitting on the floor in front of you, just gotta make them think you have some secrets that they really want to hear. Hi, kitty. Hello. Not raising my voice, I have technology. Yeah, the closer I sit to the microphone, the less loudly I have to talk. Okay, yeah, Field's hungry. Sometimes ADD means sitting in your chair for an extra hour when you said you were gonna go eat dinner. Yeah, I'm gonna go think of more stuff to talk about for tomorrow. And hopefully I'll see you then. I love you guys. So hard to leave, even though there's nothing else to do.